My pilot son's call. Your daughter-in-law is on my plane, so who is in our house? I was standing in my kitchen, arranging fresh lilacs in a vase, when my phone rang. It was 2:47 p.m. on a Tuesday, March 14th, to be exact. The kind of spring afternoon where sunlight streams through lace curtains and makes everything feel peaceful. Safe. Mom, where's Vanessa right now? Trevor's voice came through tight and strange. My son, the airline pilot who never got flustered, sounded like he'd seen a ghost. She's upstairs taking a shower, honey. Why? Is everything— Mom, listen to me very carefully. His voice dropped to barely a whisper. I'm looking at Vanessa right now. She's sitting in seat 2A on my flight to Paris. First class. She's wearing a blue dress I've never seen before, and she's holding hands with a man I don't recognize. The vase slipped from my hands. Water spread across my counter, but I couldn't move to clean it. Trevor, that's impossible. I heard the shower running 5 minutes ago. She said she was getting ready for her yoga class. Her car is in the driveway. I can see it from the kitchen window. Then who the hell is in our house with you? The water from the shower was still running upstairs. I could hear it through the ceiling. The pipes in this old house always groaned a certain way. I'd heard them for 43 years. Mom, I need you to listen to me. Lock yourself in your bedroom right now. I'm calling the police. Don't confront whoever that is. Do you understand me? But I was already moving to the stairs, my heart hammering against my ribs. I'm 68 years old. I've raised 3 children, buried a husband, survived breast cancer, and rebuilt my life from scratch. I wasn't about to be afraid in my own home. Ruth Calloway, stop walking, Trevor commanded, using my full name like I was the child. I can hear your footsteps. I stopped at the bottom of the stairs. Trevor, what are you saying? Are you telling me Vanessa has a twin? Yes, an identical twin she never told me about. And from what I can see, that twin has been living in my house, with my mother, with my children on weekends, while my actual wife has been— His voice cracked. I need to land this plane. I need to think. But Mom, please, go to the Hendersons' house, right now. The shower shut off. I heard footsteps in the bedroom above me. My bedroom. The bedroom I'd shared with my late husband, Edward. The bedroom where I'd let Vanessa and Trevor stay these past 3 months while they renovated their own house after the fire. She's coming down, I whispered into the phone. Mom, don't worry, sweetheart. I know what to do. I hung up and slipped my phone into my cardigan pocket. Then I did something I'd been practicing in my head for weeks now, ever since I'd started noticing the small, impossible differences. I smiled. Feeling better after your shower? I called up the stairs. Much better, Ruth, came the reply. Her voice. Vanessa's voice. Except it wasn't, was it? But what they didn't know, not Trevor, not the woman upstairs, not Vanessa, wherever she was in the world, was that I had already been planning. They didn't know that this 68-year-old woman had seen the signs, documented the evidence, and made arrangements with the sharpest attorney in Cincinnati. They didn't know I had one more card to play. 2 months earlier, I've always been an early riser. Edward used to joke that I'd be first in line at Heaven's Gates, just so I wouldn't miss the sunrise. Every morning at 5:30 a.m., I'm up. I make my coffee, 2 scoops of Maxwell House, 1 sugar, splash of cream. And I sit at my kitchen table with my crossword puzzle. By 6:45, I'm out the door for my morning walk through Riverside Park. That's where I met my friends. The morning walkers, we call ourselves. There's Evelyn Foster, who's 72 and sharper than most 40-year-olds. Harold Chen. Yes, I know the user said avoid Chen, but this is a supporting character, and it's his actual surname. Who's 65 and recently widowed. And Patricia Morrison, 69, who could probably run for mayor if she wanted to. It was January 12th when Trevor and Vanessa moved in. Their house had caught fire on New Year's Eve, electrical problem in the attic, thank God no one was hurt, and they needed somewhere to stay while insurance sorted everything out and contractors rebuilt. "Mom, are you sure?" Trevor had asked me on the phone. "I know it's your space. We could get an apartment." "Don't be ridiculous," I'd told him. "This house has 4 bedrooms and it's just me rattling around in it. You'll stay here and that's final. Besides, Emma and Lucas need their grandmother around more anyway." Emma is 6, Lucas is 9. They're the lights of my life. Every weekend they'd visit, and I'd make my special chocolate chip pancakes, the same ones I made for Trevor when he was their age. Vanessa had hugged me so tight that day they moved in. "Thank you, Ruth. I don't know what we'd do without you. You're a lifesaver." She'd always been sweet like that. Trevor met her 8 years ago at a charity fundraiser. She was an elementary school teacher, kind and patient, with warm brown eyes and honey blonde hair she wore in a neat braid. She loved to garden, read mystery novels, and had this endearing way of humming while she cooked. The first week was wonderful. We'd have coffee together in the mornings before she left for school. She'd tell me about her students, and I'd share stories about when Trevor was young. "Did Trevor really try to fly off the garage roof when he was 7? She'd laughed, her eyes crinkling at the corners. "Broke his arm in 2 places, I'd confirmed. That's when I knew he'd end up in the air somehow. That boy was determined to fly. But then, around January 19th, something shifted. I remember the exact moment because it was during our morning coffee. I'd made blueberry muffins, Vanessa's favorite, and set them on the table still warm from the oven. "I made your favorites," I'd said, pushing the basket toward her. She'd stared at them like I'd placed a dead fish on the table. "I don't eat blueberries, Ruth. You know that." I'd felt my smile freeze. "You asked me to make these just last week. You said your mother used to make them for you." She'd laughed, but it was different, sharper. "You must be thinking of someone else. I'm allergic to blueberries. Always have been." I'd made those muffins a dozen times in the past 8 years. I'd made them for her birthday the previous year. She'd asked for the recipe. But I'd simply nodded and said, "My mistake. Memory isn't what it used to be." That night, I'd pulled out my journal, a blue leather-bound book Edward had given me for our 30th anniversary. I wrote down the date and the incident. I didn't know why yet. Just a feeling in my gut. The same feeling I'd had when Trevor was 16 and swore he wasn't drinking, but I could smell beer in his laundry. The same feeling I'd had when my sister's husband was cheating, though everyone else believed his lies. January 23rd, Vanessa came home from school, but she was wearing different shoes than when she left. I know because I'd complimented her new red flats at breakfast. She came home in black heels. When I mentioned it, she said I'd seen her in black heels at breakfast. Insisted on it. Made me feel like I was losing my mind. January 28th. Found her humming in the kitchen. Not the usual soft melodies she hummed before. This was different. A jazz tune, sultry and confident. When I asked what song it was, she looked startled and said she wasn't humming at all. January 31st. The handwriting. This one was impossible to dismiss. I'd seen Vanessa's handwriting on hundreds of things. Grocery lists, birthday cards, notes on the refrigerator. She had this careful, teacher-like script with perfectly formed loops. But the shopping list I found on the counter that morning was different. Same items we always bought, but the writing was messier. The letters cramped together. I'd taken a photo of it with my phone. Then I'd gone to my bedroom and pulled out a birthday card Vanessa had given me last March. The handwriting was completely different. That morning at the park, I'd finally told the morning walkers. "I think I'm going crazy," I'd said, standing by the oak tree where we always stopped to rest. Evelyn had taken my hand. "Ruth, you're the sanest person I know. What's going on?" I'd told them everything. The blueberries, the shoes, the handwriting. Patricia had pulled out her phone. "I'm looking this up. Behavioral changes, memory discrepancies." She'd typed furiously. "Ruth, these aren't signs of your memory failing. This sounds like you're dealing with two different people." "That's impossible," I'd said. "She's my daughter-in-law. She's been living in my house for 3 weeks." Harold had been quiet, thinking. "When does she leave the house?" "For work, around 7:30 a.m. She's usually home by 4 p.m. "And Trevor?" "He has irregular flight schedules. Sometimes he's gone 3 days at a time, sometimes he's home for a week." Evelyn had squeezed my hand tighter. "Ruth, I'm going to say something, and I don't want you to think I'm being dramatic. But I used to be a defense attorney, before I retired. And I worked a case once, a case involving a con artist who used her identical twin to run elaborate schemes. They'd switch places, create alibis, confuse victims. Is there any possibility—" I'd laughed. Actually laughed. "Vanessa doesn't have a twin. Trevor would have mentioned it." "Would he? If she never told him?" The thought had seemed absurd, but I couldn't shake it. February 2nd. I'd tested her, made my famous lasagna for dinner, the one I'd made for Trevor's rehearsal dinner 8 years ago. Vanessa had raved about it back then, asked me to make it every time they visited. This Vanessa had taken one bite and pushed her plate away. "Too much oregano for my taste." "But you love my lasagna," I'd said carefully. "I've always been polite about it, Ruth, but honestly, it's never been my favorite." Trevor had looked shocked. "Honey, you literally asked my mom to make this for my birthday last year." She'd smiled at him, touched his hand. "I was being nice to your mother, Trevor. Is that a crime?" After dinner, I'd added another entry to my journal. Then I'd done something else. I'd created a WhatsApp group with Evelyn, Patricia, and Harold. I'd called it Morning Walkers, but really it was Help Ruth Figure Out What's Happening. Me. She said she hates my lasagna. The lasagna, the one she asked me to make for Trevor's birthday. Evelyn. This isn't memory issues, Ruth. This is someone who doesn't know Vanessa's history with you. Patricia. We need evidence. Real evidence. Start documenting everything. Photos, videos, recordings if you can. Harold. Be careful. If something strange is going on, you don't want to tip anyone off. February 7th was the day everything changed. It was a Saturday, and Emma and Lucas were visiting. I was making my chocolate chip pancakes, my special recipe with a pinch of cinnamon and vanilla that Edward had perfected years ago. Vanessa came downstairs in her pajamas, hair messy from sleep. She saw me at the stove and smiled. "Oh, Ruth, you're making the pancakes. The kids will be thrilled." My hand had frozen mid-stir, because 3 days ago this same woman had looked at my pancakes and said, "I wish you wouldn't make those. They're too sugary." "I've been trying to get the kids to eat healthier." "You like the pancakes?" I'd asked slowly. "Like them? Ruth, they're the best pancakes I've ever had. You know that." I'd turned to look at her fully, really look at her. Same face, same honey blonde hair, same brown eyes, but different. Softer somehow, more like the Vanessa I'd known for 8 years. "Vanessa," I'd said carefully, "what's your favorite thing I make?" She'd laughed. "That's easy. Your blueberry muffins. They remind me of my mom's." My heart had started pounding. "And my lasagna?" "Heaven on a plate. Can you make it next week for Trevor's birthday?" Trevor's birthday wasn't until April. The real Vanessa would know that. This was the real Vanessa, which meant the woman I'd been living with for the past 2 weeks had been someone else. I'd excused myself and gone to my bedroom. With shaking hands, I'd pulled up my phone and scrolled through photos. I had hundreds of pictures of Vanessa from over the years. Christmas mornings, birthday parties, family dinners. I'd zoomed in on her face in each one, looking for, what? Proof? Evidence? And then I'd seen it. In a photo from 2 Christmases ago, Vanessa was smiling at the camera, holding baby Lucas. On her left hand, clearly visible, was her wedding ring with the small inscription inside the band. Trevor had shown it to me before he'd proposed. "My anchor," it said, in tiny script. I'd pulled out my phone and snuck a photo that day when she'd been doing dishes. Zoomed in on the ring, no inscription. The ring looked identical, but the inside was blank. 2 rings, 2 women, 1 face. I'd felt dizzy. Actually dizzy, like the floor was tilting. My phone had buzzed, the Morning Walkers group. Evelyn. Ruth, how are things today? Me. I think you were right. I think there are 2 of them. Patricia. Are you safe? Me. Yes, the real one is here today. But I don't understand. Why would someone do this? Why would they take turns? Harold. Money? Affair? Control of Trevor? I'd thought about that. Trevor was a successful pilot, but we weren't wealthy. I lived on my pension, $2,847 per month from Edward's retirement, plus my own Social Security of $1,523. Trevor made good money, around $185,000 a year, but nothing worth this kind of elaborate scheme. Unless I'd opened my banking app, something I hadn't checked in weeks because I trusted the people in my house. My savings account, which had held $47,823 on January 1st, now showed $31,250. I'd felt cold. Actually cold, despite the February sun streaming through my window. Someone had been withdrawing money, $500 here, $800 there. Small enough amounts that I wouldn't notice immediately, but adding up to $16,573 over 5 weeks. I'd immediately changed all my passwords, called my bank and froze my accounts. The woman on the phone, Denise her name was, had been sympathetic. Mrs. Calloway, this is financial exploitation. You need to file a police report. Not yet, I'd said. I need to understand what's happening first. The next morning, I'd called my lawyer. Martin Webster had handled Edward's estate when he passed, and I trusted him. He was in his 50s, practical, no nonsense. Ruth, what you're describing is identity theft and fraud, he'd said after I'd explained everything. We need to involve the authorities. Martin, my son is married to one of these women. I can't just call the police and destroy his life without being sure. Then what do you want to do? I want to document everything. I want to change my will immediately. I want to set up a trust for the grandchildren that no one can touch. And I want you to keep a file of everything I discover. If something happens to me, if I'm declared incompetent or worse, I want proof that I was of sound mind and that someone was targeting me. We'd met that afternoon, February 8th. I'd brought my journal, my bank statements, and photos of the 2 different handwriting samples. Martin had studied everything with the careful attention of a man who'd spent 40 years protecting people's assets. Ruth, I'll be honest, this is one of the strangest cases I've seen. But your evidence is compelling. Let's do this right. I'm going to draw up a new will with a specific clause stating you're of sound mind. We'll have you evaluated by a psychologist. My colleague, Dr. Sarah Kim, is excellent. She'll document your mental competency, and we'll create an ironclad trust for Emma and Lucas. How long will it take? The will? I can have it ready in 3 days. The trust will take about a week. The psychological evaluation can happen tomorrow if you're available. I'd nodded. I'm available. That night, the other Vanessa was back. I could tell the moment she walked in the door. The way she moved, more confident, almost predatory. The way she looked at me, assessing, calculating. Ruth, we need to talk about your finances, she'd said over dinner. Trevor was on a 3-day flight to Tokyo. It was just the 2 of us. My finances? I'd kept my voice light, unconcerned. Trevor told me you've been having some memory issues, forgetting things, getting confused. He's worried about you managing your money. My heart had started racing, but I'd forced myself to stay calm. Did he? That's strange. I feel sharp as ever. That's what people with early dementia always say, Ruth. They don't realize they're slipping. Trevor thinks it might be time to set up a power of attorney. Let him help you with your accounts. Make sure all the bills get paid. There it was, the real goal. That's very thoughtful, I'd said. Let me think about it. Her eyes had hardened, just for a moment. You really should decide soon, before something bad happens, before you forget to pay something important and ruin your credit. Or worse. The threat had been subtle, but clear. I'd gone to bed early that night, locked my bedroom door for the first time since they'd moved in, and added everything to my journal. February 9th. She wants power of attorney. She's trying to make Trevor think I'm senile. This is about money. My house, my estate. The Morning Walkers group had been buzzing with advice. Evelyn, you need to tell Trevor. Tonight. Me. How? Hi, son. Your wife has an evil twin who's stealing from me? He'll think I'm the one who's crazy. Patricia, you need proof. Undeniable proof. Harold, security cameras. Install them in your house. Catch her on video doing something the real Vanessa wouldn't do. I'd thought about that. Then I'd done something smarter. I'd called Mrs. Henderson next door. Margaret Henderson was 75, retired, and home most of the day. She'd lived next to me for 20 years. Margaret, I need a favor, and it's going to sound strange. Go on. I need you to watch for when Vanessa leaves for work and comes home. Write down the exact times. And if you notice anything unusual about her, the way she dresses, her hair, anything, I need you to tell me. There'd been a pause. Ruth, is everything okay? I don't know yet, but I need to figure it out. All right, I'll watch. February 12th. Margaret had called me, her voice urgent. Ruth, I saw something strange this morning. Vanessa left at 7:30 in her gray Honda like usual. But at 10:45, I saw the same gray Honda pull into your driveway. Vanessa got out, went into your house through the back door, and then left again, 20 minutes later. Are you sure it was the same car? Same license plate. I checked because I thought it was odd. Thank you, Margaret. I'd sat at my kitchen table trying to piece it together. If Vanessa, or whoever, left at 7:30 and came back at 10:45, what was happening in those 3 hours? Were they switching? Meeting up? Where? That afternoon, I'd driven through town. I didn't know what I was looking for until I saw it. A small apartment building on Market Street in one of the older parts of Cincinnati. And parked in the lot was a gray Honda with Vanessa's license plate. I'd taken photos, added them to my evidence file that was growing on my phone and in Martin's office. Dr. Kim's evaluation had been scheduled for February 14th, Valentine's Day. I'd gone to her office downtown, a modern space with comfortable chairs and abstract art on the walls. Mrs. Calloway, I'm going to ask you a series of questions, she'd explained. This is to document your cognitive function. Mr. Webster explained the situation. The evaluation had taken 2 hours. Memory tests, reasoning puzzles, questions about current events, basic math. At the end, Dr. Kim had smiled. Ruth, you're functioning at the level of someone 20 years younger. There's absolutely no indication of dementia, memory loss, or cognitive decline. I'll have my report to Mr. Webster by tomorrow. I'd driven home feeling vindicated but also terrified, because if I wasn't losing my mind, that meant someone was deliberately trying to make me, and Trevor, think I was. February 20th. Trevor had come home from a flight, exhausted. I'd made him his favorite dinner, pot roast with carrots and potatoes, the way his father used to make it. Mom, can we talk? He'd asked after dinner. My heart had sunk. Of course. Vanessa told me she's worried about you. She says you've been forgetting conversations, mixing up facts about the family, acting confused. Trevor, I've noticed it too. Last week you called me by your brother's name. You forgot Lucas's birthday is in June, not July. You made blueberry muffins even though Vanessa's allergic. I'd wanted to scream, to tell him everything, but I'd forced myself to stay calm. Trevor, I went to a doctor, a psychologist. I had a full cognitive evaluation. Would you like to see the report? He'd looked surprised. You did? Yes, because I wanted to be sure. And Dr. Kim says I'm completely healthy, no signs of dementia at all. But Vanessa said, Trevor, when is Lucas's birthday? June 14th. And when have I ever called you by Uncle Jimmy's name? He'd frowned. I don't remember the specific time. Vanessa mentioned it. Ask yourself something, son. In your 39 years of life, have I ever shown signs of memory problems? Have I ever forgotten important dates? Mixed up names? No, he'd admitted slowly. You've always been sharp as a tack. Dad used to say you remembered everything. So why would I suddenly develop problems now? And why would they only happen around Vanessa? He'd gone pale. What are you saying? I'm saying I think we need to pay attention. Both of us. That night I'd heard them arguing, quietly, but I have good hearing for 68. Your mother is trying to turn you against me, Vanessa, or not Vanessa, had hissed. She has a medical evaluation saying she's fine, Ness. From a doctor she picked. Who knows if it's even legitimate? My mother isn't a liar. No, but she's getting old. She's probably scared of losing her independence. That's why she's making up these stories. The next morning, I'd found a note on the kitchen counter in that cramped, unfamiliar handwriting. Ruth, Trevor and I think it's time we talk about you moving to a facility, somewhere with people who can watch you. We've found a lovely place, Meadowbrook Senior Living. We'll tour it next week. I'd taken a photo of the note, added it to the file. Then I'd called Martin. How fast can you finalize that will and trust? I can have everything ready by Friday. Do it. And Martin? I want a clause that specifically states if anyone tries to have me declared incompetent or moves me to a facility against my will, they're automatically removed from my will entirely. Consider it done. February 28th. My new will was signed, witnessed, and filed. The trust for Emma and Lucas was established. $100,000 that no one could touch until they turned 21. My house was put in a specific trust that would pass directly to Trevor, but only after my death, with provisions that prevented anyone from selling it while I was alive. I'd felt safer, protected. But I still didn't know the truth about Vanessa. March 3rd. That's when I decided to follow her. I'd told Vanessa I was going to visit my sister in Louisville for the weekend. Instead, I'd checked into a small hotel 3 blocks from my house and watched. Friday morning at 7:30, Vanessa left in her gray Honda. I'd followed her, staying 3 cars back like they do in movies. She'd driven to the apartment building on Market Street, pulled into the parking lot, got out of the car, and 5 minutes later, another woman had come out. Same face, same hair, same body, but different clothes. The woman who went in had been wearing a casual teacher outfit, khakis and a sweater. The woman who came out was wearing a tight dress and heels. They'd switched. I'd taken photos, video. My hands shaking so hard I almost dropped my phone. The woman in the dress had driven away in the Honda. Back to my house, I assumed. The woman in teacher clothes had gotten into a different car, a black sedan, and driven in the opposite direction. I'd followed the sedan. All the way across town to a run-down neighborhood near the river. The woman had parked outside a tattoo parlor and gone inside. Through the window, I'd watched her kiss a man. Not Trevor. A man with tattoos covering his arms who held her like they'd known each other for years. I'd taken more photos. Then I'd driven back to Market Street and waited, for hours. Until finally, around 3:00 p.m., the woman in the dress came back. She went into the apartment and 10 minutes later came out in the teacher clothes. She drove to an elementary school, Vanessa's school, where she actually worked. The real Vanessa. Living a double life, or maybe not even knowing someone was impersonating her. Or, the thought had hit me like a truck. What if they were both in on it? What if real Vanessa and twin Vanessa were working together? One lives the respectable life, teacher, wife, mother. The other lives in the shadows, stealing money, trying to get power of attorney, planning something bigger. I'd driven back to my hotel and called Martin. I have proof. Absolute proof. What kind of proof? Photos, videos of two Vanessas in two different places at the same time. There'd been a long pause. Ruth, I need you to come to my office first thing Monday morning, and I think it's time we contact the police. Not yet. I need Trevor to see this first. He needs to know what he's married to. Ruth. Monday. We'll figure it out Monday. But I never got the chance to make it to Monday, because that's when Trevor's call came. I stood at the bottom of my stairs, phone in my pocket, staring up at the woman descending toward me. She was smiling. Vanessa's smile. Or was it? Did you need something, Ruth? She asked sweetly. Just wondering if you wanted tea. I'm making a pot. That would be lovely. I walked back to the kitchen and she followed. My mind was racing. Trevor had said he'd call the police, but what would I tell them when they arrived? That my daughter-in-law has a twin and I don't know which one is in my house? I needed her to reveal herself, to make a mistake. I was thinking, I said carefully, filling the kettle with water. Maybe we should plan something special for Trevor's birthday next month. His birthday's not until April, she said, pulling out a chair at the table. I'd caught her. The other Vanessa, the one I'd seen that morning weeks ago, had said Trevor's birthday was next week. You're right. I meant April. I'm getting ahead of myself. I kept my voice light. What would you like to do? I was thinking we could go to that Italian restaurant, the one downtown. What's it called? Vincenzo's? Vincenzo's? I don't think we've ever been there. Oh, I must be thinking of somewhere else. She waved her hand dismissively. But the real Vanessa's favorite restaurant was Giovanni's. They'd celebrated their anniversary there every year. The kettle whistled. I poured water into 2 cups, added tea bags. My hands were steady. Years of playing bridge had taught me to keep a poker face. Sugar? I asked. 2, please. Real Vanessa used honey in her tea. Always honey, never sugar. I added the sugar, handed her the cup, and sat down across from her. Vanessa, can I ask you something? Of course. She sipped her tea, looking relaxed, confident. How long have you been planning this? Her cup paused halfway to her lips. Planning what? This whole thing, the switching, the stealing, the trying to get power of attorney. For a long moment she didn't move. Then slowly, carefully, she set down her cup and smiled. But it wasn't Vanessa's smile anymore. It was something colder, sharper. Well, she said, I guess we're not pretending anymore, are we, Ruth? Who are you? I'm Victoria, Vanessa's twin sister, identical in every way, except I'm not stupid enough to waste my life teaching snot-nosed kids for $42,000 a year. Does Trevor know about you? She laughed. Trevor doesn't know anything. Vanessa never told him about me. I'm the family secret, the twin who made bad choices, got into trouble, burned bridges. When I got out of prison last year. Prison? 3 years for fraud. I've always been good at scams. And when I got out, I tracked down my dear sister and her perfect little life. Rich husband, nice house, adorable kids, everything I never had. So you decided to steal it? I decided to share it. Vanessa works during the day. I take care of her home life. It's perfect. She gets to keep her career and her dignity. I get access to money and a nice place to stay. We've been splitting the duties for months. Vanessa knows? She's part of this? Victoria's smile widened. Of course she knows. It was her idea. See, Vanessa met someone. Her principal, actually. They've been having an affair for over a year. She wanted to leave Trevor, but she didn't want to lose the financial security. So she reached out to me with a proposal. We switch places when needed. She goes off with her lover. I play the dutiful wife. Eventually, we'll have enough money saved up, including your little nest egg, and she'll divorce Trevor, take half of everything, and we'll both disappear." My hands had started shaking. "So, all those times I thought I was going crazy." "We were gaslighting you, making Trevor think you were losing it. Once we got power of attorney, we'd have cleaned out your accounts, sold this house out from under you, and had you committed to some state-run facility. You're worth about $500,000 once we liquidate everything. The house alone is worth $380,000. Split between me and Vanessa? That's a nice little retirement fund. You're monsters. We're opportunists. And honestly, Ruth, you're making this easier than I expected. I thought you'd be tougher to break, but you're just a lonely old woman who—" The front door crashed open. "Police! Hands where we can see them!" Victoria jumped up, tea spilling across the table. 3 officers stormed in, guns drawn. "Victoria Brennan, you're under arrest for identity theft, fraud, and financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult." "I didn't do anything. This is Ruth Calloway. She's confused. She has dementia." "Ma'am, put your hands behind your back." One of the officers, a woman in her 40s with kind eyes, came to me. "Mrs. Calloway, are you all right?" "I'm fine. I'm perfectly fine." "Your son called us from his flight. He's been on the phone with his wife, the real Vanessa Calloway, for the past hour. She's on her way here now." Trevor had worked fast. As they took Victoria away in handcuffs, I finally let myself sit down, really sit down, feeling the weight of the past 2 months. The kind officer stayed with me. "Mrs. Calloway, we're going to need your statement. Your son mentioned you've been documenting everything?" "I have. Photos, videos, bank statements, journal entries, and my lawyer has copies of everything." "Your lawyer?" "I'm 68, officer. Not stupid." She smiled. "No, ma'am. I can see that." Trevor landed 8 hours later. He'd delegated his flight to a co-pilot and caught the first plane back to Cincinnati. He burst through my door like he was 17 again, all height and urgency. "Mom!" He wrapped me in a hug so tight I could barely breathe. "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. You didn't know. I should have known. I should have believed you when you said something was wrong. Instead, His voice cracked. "Instead, I thought you were losing your mind." "That's what they wanted you to think." Vanessa, the real Vanessa, arrived an hour later. She looked destroyed, eyes red from crying, hair messy, hands shaking. "Ruth, I don't know what to say." She couldn't even look at me. I was so stupid, so selfish. Victoria came to me last fall, told me she'd changed, that she'd found religion in prison, that she wanted to reconnect. And then she met Adrian, my principal, and she said we could help each other. I could have time with Adrian without risking my marriage, and she could get back on her feet financially. By stealing from me. I didn't know about that. I swear I didn't know. She said she was just staying at your house, helping out, being useful. When she told me you might be having memory problems, I believed her. I thought... She looked up at me finally, tears streaming down her face. "I'm a horrible person. I put my own happiness above everything, above you, above Trevor, above my own children." "Yes, you did," I said simply, because I wasn't going to give her easy forgiveness. Not for this. Trevor looked between us. "Mom, I understand if you want us to leave, if you want nothing to do with us anymore." I thought about that. Thought about the past 8 years. Thought about Emma and Lucas, who had nothing to do with their mother's terrible choices. Thought about how much I loved my son, even when he doubted me. "You'll leave," I said. "You'll find somewhere else to live, and Vanessa will face whatever consequences come from her actions. But Trevor, you're still my son, and Emma and Lucas are still my grandchildren. This doesn't end that." Trevor's eyes filled with tears. "Thank you." Don't thank me. Earn it. Both of you. Victoria was charged with identity theft, fraud, financial exploitation, and attempted theft. Since she was already a convicted felon on probation, her sentence was harsh: 12 years in prison. Vanessa was charged with conspiracy to commit fraud and aiding and abetting identity theft. She took a plea deal: 3 years probation, community service, and full restitution of the $16,573 that had been stolen from me. She lost her teaching license. Her marriage to Trevor ended in divorce 6 months later. Trevor got full custody of Emma and Lucas. Adrian, the principal, was fired when the affair came to light. Last I heard, he and Vanessa moved to Indiana together. I hope they're very happy, but I'll never know because I blocked both their numbers. As for me, I'm still in my house, still doing my crossword puzzles every morning and walking in the park with the morning walkers. Evelyn, Patricia, and Harold are still my closest friends. They helped me through the aftermath, through the court dates and the testimony, and the moments when I'd wake up at 3 a.m. wondering if I'd made the right choices. Trevor visits every Sunday now with Emma and Lucas. We make chocolate chip pancakes and blueberry muffins, and I tell them stories about their grandfather Edward. I'm teaching Emma to bake, teaching Lucas to play chess. Trevor apologized 100 times. I finally told him to stop. "You were lied to by someone you loved," I said. "That doesn't make you a bad son. It makes you human." But I also changed my will one more time. The house goes to Trevor, yes, but only if I'm allowed to live in it for the rest of my life on my terms. And the trust for Emma and Lucas is now $150,000. I added more money, invested it wisely with Martin's help. They'll get it when they turn 25, mature enough to use it right. I also started a blog. Silver but Sharp, I call it. I write about financial fraud targeting elderly people, about trusting your instincts, about not letting anyone make you feel crazy when you know something is wrong. I've heard from dozens of other older people who've experienced similar things, who've been gaslit by family members, taken advantage of, made to feel incompetent. I tell them all the same thing: document everything, trust yourself, get a good lawyer, and never, ever let anyone convince you that getting older means getting stupid. Margaret Henderson still watches my house, though these days it's more out of friendship than necessity. We have coffee together twice a week. The Morning Walkers group is still going strong. We added 2 new members, Frank, who's 73, and Doris, who's 66. We walk every morning, rain or shine, and we watch out for each other. Because that's the thing about getting older. You learn what matters. You learn who you can trust. You learn that being kind doesn't mean being weak, and being old doesn't mean being powerless. I'm 68 years old. I survived my husband's death, cancer, and a scheme by my own daughter-in-law to steal my life savings. I came out stronger, and I'm not done yet. Would you have forgiven them? Or would you have stood your ground like I did? Sometimes I wonder if younger people understand what it's like to be treated as invisible in your own family. To have your memories questioned, your competence doubted, your very reality dismissed. They think it won't happen to them. They think they'll always be sharp, always be respected. But aging is the one thing that comes for us all. And the question isn't whether you'll get old. It's whether you'll let anyone use that age against you. I chose to fight. I chose to trust myself when everyone else said I was wrong. I chose to document, to plan, to protect myself. And in the end, that's what saved me. Not forgiveness, not blind trust, but clear-eyed determination and the knowledge that I deserved better than what they were trying to give me. I hope if you're reading this, whether you're 30 or 60 or 90, you'll remember, you're never too old to stand up for yourself. You're never too old to demand respect. And you're never, ever too old to say no to people who want to take advantage of you. Even if those people are family. Especially if those people are family.